Welcome to the panel discussion on how businesses are dealing with food and agriculture problems. My name is Jiao Yu. I'm the director of China EU. China EU is a Brussels-based organization promoting exchange and cooperation between European and Chinese businesses in the high-tech and digital sectors, which we believe are the pillars industries for our future economy. Today, we have the honor to partner with TechNode and host this virtual panel at Beyond the Metaverse to discuss what sustainability means to the food and agriculture business. In particular, we will hear about unique perspectives from some of the leading players in the industry about how businesses tackle challenges in the food ecosystem and seek tech-enabled agricultural sustainability. Today, I'm joined by Michelle Yu, Associate Director of Sustainability at Oatly, the world's original and largest oat drink company, and Dr. Tong Wei, who is the Head of Branding and Global Affairs at XAG, one of the largest agriculture drone service provider in the world. Thanks for being here today. Well, we live in times full of challenges, among which food and environmental problems are high on the agenda. It calls for advanced technologies and disruptive innovations to transform our food systems to be more sustainable and resilient in order to achieve a better future for all. An interesting fact is that despite there being almost 300,000 varieties of eatable plants today, 90% of the world is mainly fed by 3 kinds of cereals, mainly maize, wheat, and rice, which account for more than half of the calories and proteins that we derive from plants. So my first question goes to Ms. Yu. So what does sustainability mean to Oatly, and how do you achieve that through your oat products?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Oatly is the first oat drink company globally. So we very much focus on people and planet, and this is how our company was initiated. And sustainability is one of our core values, and it's also very well interacted with our strict decision-making process in the company. The whole company idea and our vision is to be a company that we want to lead a global plant-based movement to reduce cow milk product by half. We aim to produce sustainable oat-based products, maximize the nutritional value, but minimize environmental impact. Especially, we actually develop for ambitions in our sustainability plan, and it's being published in our sustainability report every year. The first one, we want to give back to nature and communities where we source by restoring carbon and improving biodiversity, also boosting farmer income. The second ambition are very much in line with the topic today about climate. So we want to reduce our climate footprint per liter of Oatly produced by 70% in a decade. And this is in line with ambition of 1.5 degree climate pathway. And the third one is we are producing our product in facilities that we wish to meet our future factory criteria, which include being safe and inclusive in the working environment. And we also source 100% renewable energy in our own operation and also the supply chain. Using 100% sustainable ground transportation, reduce our also water footprint during the operation as well. We also aim to eliminate our production waste to landfill to reach the fully circular ambitions. The last but not the least, the ambition is about leading a shift from dairy to plant-based diet with a milestone to shift almost 3 billion liters from dairy to Oatly between 2019 and 2025, which means 6 years, saving up to 2.5 million tons of CO2. So this is what that means for Oatly about sustainability. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for sharing this comprehensive strategy and actions of Oatly. And definitely the numbers, the contribution that Oatly can make to the world is like amazing. And now I would like also to chat a bit with Dr. Tong. So XAG is also a game changer in the agriculture sector. So as a leader in the mastering the technology of precise agriculture, can you tell us how your business leverages technology to address the sustainability challenge of the world?
Okay, thank you. Very delighted to be here. And for us, as an agri-tech company, we are serving the robotics and the algorithm-based software for the farmers and the landowners around the world. We have been in 50 countries in the region, especially in Southeast Asia and Latin America. And for us, because actually every day, so we are fighting against the climate change and other uncertainties for the factors in agriculture every day in different countries. And but a very interesting thing is we can see a common challenge for human beings in agriculture. Comparing with other industries, it's very unique because everyone, maybe you for each country, you have different background of environment and social conditions, but for agriculture, you face up the common challenges for aging society and a labor shortage, because agriculture is so an ancient industry, but with the development of technology, few people would like to get involved in this industry, which means for those talented teenagers and young people, they would like to stay in the city because of the urbanization. They can enjoy very nice and fancy lifestyle, but rather than the life in the countryside. So for sustainability right now is so important because of the labor shortage, the efficiency is must be taken challenge for technology, and because of the few people work in this industry, so in order to guarantee the efficiency, in order to grow up enough food to feed up the world, so in the traditional way, you have to spend more and more chemicals and other materials to grow the food. So that will be a great challenge and danger for environment because a lot of chemicals, pesticides, fungicides pour into the soil. So it generates a lot of pollution. So you cannot guarantee the safety for the soil itself, right? So let alone the food itself. So that's why we have both the food security and the environmental risk. So from our perspective, we would like to have a revolutionary way to replace the traditional way. That's why we have a lot of equipment towards the smart farming. Let's give you a very simple example about the nozzle, because in the traditional way, you have to spray the pesticides through a hydraulic nozzle, which means the water pressure, and you can push the water, you can push all the liquid and into the soil. So that's the traditional way you spray something, just like the tap water. But right now we use a very smart way for the nozzle, and then we can save 90% of the water, and we can use purely the chemicals themselves. So water is very expensive, but with the very high precision spraying way, which means you can use less water, but more effective way to spray pesticide. And this can benefit hundreds of millions the people around the world because it can keep the soil away from the pollution, the highly pollution. So this is just a simple example. Right now, we produce drones, ground vehicles, IoT systems. All these equipment are designed based on the SDG concept, which means we want to use less, spend less, but we can grow up more. So this is quite important in agriculture. And with the algorithms, all the farmers, especially, we can help them to connect with the market. Let me give the last example. That's for how we help the farmers to grow up food in a sustainable way. Because in the past, the farmers just grow up the food, and the food collectors, like these big companies, they would like to bargain with the farmers, like at a very low price, and then they will have the branding and the marketing things, and then that's the food that you have in the supermarket. But because the farmers has no ability to access to the market. But right now, with the digital smart farming tools, and the farmers, they can have a very neutral digital report on how they grow up the food for the whole process. They have the data, but the data is neutral. They cannot change the data, but they can trace back the data. And then the farmers have the ability to access to the market. They can show to the supermarket, like, I'm a good producer, and they can sell this food at a better price than to the supermarket, which means they provide safer and healthier food to the supermarket. And the supermarket get a very reliable supplier. So this is a good way for farming. And this can attract the young people and those young talented people who get involved in this industry, and they can revitalize this industry in a sustainable way. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It's fascinating to hear about the specific, like, concrete cases about how technology can address, the world facing issues like labor shortage. And I love when you were saying, like, not traditional way, like this unconventional way of solving this problems. I think that's what we all need, right? It's like our world is calling for this disruptive innovation to make changes. But also I like one keyword also you pointed out is like everyday challenge, because this sustainability issue becomes everyday challenge. And also speaking of this sustainable development, I think also we have to talk about biodiversity. I think it's one of the top topics that we have to touch upon. So as we all know, this biodiversity is attached with great attention because it's what our lives and economic activities all depend on, right? So I would like to ask Michelle, so we all know that Oatly is a great contributor to biodiversity improvement. Can you tell us more about how Oatly contributes to this, to contribute to increasing the biodiversity?
I think actually compared to climate change, for every consumer or public, how we feel that biodiversity is less direct. However, there is many research which can share the real data on how it happens today. So, of course, the global population are continue growing, and today there is around 7.6 billion people globally. However, compared to the population, it only represents very small percentage of all the living things. It's almost the 0.01% of all the living. However, according to the study, that all the human activities which already caused the biodiversity loss of about 83% of all the wild animals and almost half of the plant has been disappeared. However, in order to fulfill the global population food needs, the livestock keep growing. There's also another research, I think, for food industry or food and agriculture industry are very familiar with Professor Joseph Paul and Thomas Namsek. So they published a paper in Science in 2018. There is a lot of comparison of different food and their environment footprint. So take one of the examples, it says 20% of the global greenhouse gas emission actually are coming from food industry. That's almost the double of the global transportation. If we look at oat milk, which Oatly is producing, so we compare oat milk to cow's milk in the same volume, we use much less, let's say we are used 90% less land compared to the cow milk, and we're also using 90% water less. And totally in the life cycle, there is 70% less of greenhouse gas emission from oat milk compared to cow's milk. So this is showing how different food options can bring different environment impact, and we can contribute a lot to biodiversity if we choose the right choice. Our companies also wish to lead the transformation of global dairy market. Our business also focus on the development, manufacturing, and promoting and distribution of branded plant-based products, and more specifically oat-based, because we are a company produced with oat. So we want to offer more alternatives to dairy products. Every year, around the International Environment Day in June, we launch special coffee campaign with our coffee partners, where we want to call for attention to all the public and consumers on the biodiversity topic. So when more customer or consumers are aware of the concept of biodiversity, they will take the right sustainable choice, and it will create positive impact to the real environment. So this is a little sharing of how we are doing in order to respond to the biodiversity topic. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, actually, in the sustainability world, there is a saying that's actually apart from the businesses, actually, which probably cannot contribute as much as consumers' choice. Actually, it's eventually the consumer how they change, do the transformation actually based on their choice. So it's great to hear that Oatly, how Oatly try to also guide the consumers to make the good choice to save our planet. But on the other hand, I guess XAG is more like business to business, I suppose. But I know that you are also very active in advocating biodiversity, and also as a pioneering agriculture tech company, XAG's action in biodiversity protection is also setting the benchmark for the whole industry, I believe. So can you tell us more about how agricultural drones help protect biodiversity?
Okay, actually, it's very impressive for Oatly's story. So actually, I'm an Oatly fan, and I noticed that Oatly now, they have a fashion brand that to tell those consumers in a very fashionable way how to be a sustainable citizen. And for XAG, because we are a manufacturer. We have a factory. We design and we manufacture by ourselves, and we produce these smart farming tools. I say robots for the farmers. So that's why actually we are very close to the procedure of farming itself. So in a very front line to get very close to the nature every day. So for us, actually, the drone is the drone and the ground vehicle are designed for spray, seeding, and fertilizing. So they can spray the liquid chemicals, but also they can spray the granular fertilizer and any seed. So actually, so in the real life, the function of a drone is expanded into environmental protection way, because when you can do seeding, then you can protect the grassland and forest. So this is not designed. This is not the functions we designed for farmers, but actually it's like we designed for the nature. So let me give you a very impressive example. In 2019, before the COVID, you still remember in Australia there is a bushfire. Actually, 90% of the forest almost burned, destroyed totally. So, but after that, the state government found it's really, really hard to make a recovery on the forest, because a lot of the huge trees burned down, and it's really hard for human beings or pickups or any vehicles to get into the core areas of that forest. So it's hard to access to the forest. So you cannot do anything for reforestation. So that's the challenge. And then our local partners in Australia, they just contacted the Victoria State. They provide a comprehensive solution for reforestation because they can use drones to do seeding, to do reforestation job. And after that, it's only like several weeks later after the drone operation for most of that area, that region, because the environment is good. So after seeding, the trees grow up very fast. So, and then we got a thank you letter from state Victoria, because it saved a lot of time, because when the drone, they can fly from the air, it's easy for them to get access to the core region of the most destroyed area. But it's impossible for human and other traditional vehicles on the ground. So this is a good way to show how we can protect the environment, not only to save water, save chemicals, but also you can do reforestation, you can save the grassland. Now and based on that concept, we just do seeding in like Tibetan grassland in China and in the western Sichuan province, but also in Brazil, in other areas around the world, that to save and to create a good environment for the animals who live in the grassland. So this is just a small case we do, but we feel very honored that we could be a friend, but also a protector for the environment.
Thanks for the great contribution to the world environment, and also like save, the world class, like, accident events. So I think this is really, like you said, impressive. And now I would like to also chat with you a bit, like how your companies actually take specific actions in certain markets. If I remember right, Oatly sets its footprint in Chinese markets since 2019. And as we all see, you have achieved enormous success, not only in business per se, but also in sustainable development. So I would like Michelle to share more about your sustainability initiatives that you have taken in the Chinese market, and also what are your plans to continue to act for a better food systems in China?
You're right. Oatly is still very new, or we are still in very initial stage in the Asian market, because we entered in China market in 2018, and it's almost 4 years we are here. So definitely there is a lot to develop and there is a lot to do. We're in line with our global and regional ambitions. So of course, we are growing very fast in business development, and this is also draw our attention to our footprint when we grow in the business. So that's why we already started our own production in Asia. So we have one factory in Singapore, and there's another one in China, Ma'anshan. The reason why we invest so much to build the local production is we want to reduce also our climate and environment footprint of the global transportation, because that's caused a lot of emissions. So local for local not only contribute to the greenhouse gas emission reduction, also where we can be more close to our consumers, where we can provide in-time products with nutrition. Of course, in the sustainable development, it's not only about on operation. We also have ambition, or we have our plans to where we can engage more with the government on standards, where we can also more collaborating and partner with our business partners. And moreover, we also want to influence more our consumers, where changing the lifestyle actually can contribute huge to the sustainability. We supported many of our coffee customer or business partners on reducing their carbon footprint, because they also have their own sustainability targets. We have already several years disclosed our LCA carbon footprint, and if you see our products, many of our barista have the carbon label on the box. So this has been a lot of work done in the past, and we will continue. Second, a circular economy is so much about sustainability. Sustainability is so much about circular economy. So when we produce oat milk, there is a lot of oat residue actually generated. We are trying or testing with a lot of technology and innovation companies how we can convert those oat residue into a valuable resource. So either we can make them into new sustainable material, or we can generate with oat residue into energy. Of course, in the agriculture side, we are still, our oat are coming from Europe, Nordic. However, we are also trying to study on the local oat, but it takes time because it has many connections with our product quality and etc. However, this year we have tried in Yunnan about coffee farm. We have sponsored 10 observation device where, as Dr. Tong said, where we can support the local farmers to plant coffee in more scientific way. They can test the pesticides and to put the right volume, not over. And we hope by starting this action, we can start on the agriculture side using the technology. And also, we also want to empower the local farmers to have more income later. So this is a trial, and we start in the coffee area. And of course, we will continue to do more in the future. Of course, last but not the least is standard and legislation, of course, is a key to enable more sustainable action, either from corporation or the consumer side. So as the first oat company in globally in China, we also support in last year to set up the white paper of China oat milk industry, where we believe with the right standard and benchmark, the plant-based industry and the food system will continue to grow and bring more positive impact when we talk about environment and social. So this is some action we are doing now, and of course we will continue to do more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful that Oatly really takes responsibility of an industry leader, like in the Chinese markets and doing for the Chinese economy, and also for the sustainability development. Because I also know that for the moment, the Chinese markets has big potential in coffee industry, and it's like growing very fast in like unprecedented speed. So it's great that Oatly also observe this and also work with the coffee industry. I think it's it will create great synergies between oat milk and coffee drinks. And while Oatly is tapping into the promising Chinese markets, XAG, as a China-born tech company, is actively exploring the overseas market. So, Dr. Tong, can you share with us how XAG help agriculture business abroad to achieve sustainability? And also in the future, how do you see that XAG will lead to transformative change in agriculture industry?
Okay, as I mentioned, now we are in 50 countries and regions around the world. And I think comparing with other Chinese market, Chinese companies going global, so we are kind of different from the traditional road to the overseas market, because agriculture technology is, I think it's a pretty new industry. So comparing with other countries, China has a very unique social environment and a policy environment comparing with other countries. So that's why we start very early in China. I mean, we dive into agriculture in we started in like 2015 to design, and in 2017 we are fully commercialized and provide a well-designed product, very mature product to the market, to Chinese market. So with a very rapid development in China, around 5 years, right now in China, because the government's policy is very open, the agriculture growing in China is not a aerial, it's not a drone itself, but also it was taken as a agriculture tool in China. That's why Chinese farmers can buy drones and enjoy the subsidy from the Ministry of Agriculture at the same time. And this is very unique in the whole world. Chinese government has a very open policy for operation, because in overseas, when you would like to use the drone to spray anything, you need to submit like a report to the Civil Aviation Authority, and then you can get a permit, and then you can operate your drone, because it's like a operation in a professional way. But in China, when the farmers they buy the drone, it's like their agriculture tool, like a tractor. So they can use anytime, but within a safer environment, which means you cannot go to a public place, but with your own agricultural field, it's totally legal in China. So with a very rapid development in China, right now in China, it's totally a very mature. And when you go any province in China, north, south, western, and east, when you go to the agriculture field or region, you can see a lot of drone pallets and operations every day. But for overseas market, it's a pretty new thing. And we started like 3 years ago. But right now in developing countries, the markets are increasing and growing very fast in Southeast Asia and Latin America especially. And now we are in Vietnam, in Cambodia, in Thailand, and in Latin America, it's like in Colombia, Ecuador, and Brazil. So for those agricultural countries, they face the challenges of aging society and labor shortage. So that's why they take agriculture drone and robot ground vehicle as a very good helper for them, because it's totally a revolutionary way comparing with the traditional way. At the same time, it saves the cost because now, as I mentioned earlier, because of the urbanization, those young people graduated from famous universities, they would like to go to the internet company or technology company like Tesla, or go into the financial industry, say in a bank, but they would like to live in the CBD, but rather than the countryside. So that's why for those agricultural companies or orchard owners, they are really hard to hire people. And the cost for laborers are growing in an incredible way. So that time, it generates a great demand on technology because you have a very stable technology, which means you don't need to worry in the peak hour, because in the peak hour, it's really hard to hire people because agriculture is a seasonal business. During the peak hour, during the harvest and the planting season, everybody would like to have workers and laborers. So everybody are fighting with each other, that's with the laborers. So, but if you have the reliable equipment and you got a helper, so that's why we have a lot of markets in developing countries, and they can really take lessons and experience from China with the last 5 years development. So they can totally enjoy and benefit from this Chinese design and manufactured product. But at the same time, for developed countries, because they have the infrastructure built like decades ago, so they have the foundation and they have the traditional concept to use the tractors and other huge machinery tools. And at the same time, from the legislative perspective, they have a lot of regulations on operating drones. But the drone is the consumer side for photographers. But they have very strict regulations on drones. So a farmer in the UK, if they buy an agricultural drone, they have to proceed a very complicated procedure that to fly its drone. So it's not a tool. You cannot use it every day because it's not that convenient. So that's why in the last 2 and 3 years, I have a lot of negotiations and dialogues with different governments from the developed countries like UK, like Switzerland. And right now, I think the game is changing. And right now, for the officials from the developed countries, they are accepting this concept from the digital farm, from whatever perspective of privacy or data security or efficiency or technology itself. So right now, I think for developing countries, it's increasing and repeating the Chinese successful stories. And for developed countries, I think we have a very promising future ahead. And I'm very positive about the future for sustainable farming around the world based on our technology.
Great, thank you so much. It's great to hear about this, how this agri-tech are applied all over the world and see the difference. It's really valuable observation about, the Chinese status quo and also vis-a-vis other countries, and so developing country world and also in the less developed country. So it's definitely, as you said, it's not simply it's a one-man show. It requires all the effort from both from business, from government, from also I guess also from the farmer side. It needs kind of like collaboration in a way to make sure that this sustainable development can go further. Really, really big thank you to all your precious sharing and insights. Because now the sustainability is like very urgent thing for us to tackle. So we cannot wait anymore. We need all the efforts of business to take any initiatives and to push the industry, to push the whole society into the action to protect environment and fight for the climate change and all these things. And also at China EU, as a kind of bridge for the international collaboration, we really look forward to see the innovations and the digital solutions flowing from China to Europe and also vice versa from Europe to China. And we strongly believe that in the power of international collaboration and ideas sharing and exchange, we can build a better future together. I think we are more or less running out of time. So thank you so much for joining today's discussion, Michelle and Dr. Tong. We wish Beyond Expo a great success, and I sincerely hope that we can meet each other in person next year at Beyond Expo, and we can continue our discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for Jiao, and thanks. Nice to meet you, Ms. Tong, as well. Yeah. Wish everything will be success. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.